Hi, I'm Judy O'Neill. I want to talk with you about how you can finally stop throwing yourself and your needs under the bus. I'm going to cover how you can build healthy boundaries and have relationships that give you more fulfillment and less stress. This training is designed to help you feel more power and well-being in your life. So, do any of these sound like challenges you faced? Low self-esteem, unhealthy boundaries, you fall into people-pleasing, mild or moderate depression or anxiety, feeling trapped in a cycle of dieting and regaining the weight through emotional eating, or trying to navigate a relationship with a narcissist or someone who is emotionally neglectful or abusive. I have some idea of how painful these experiences can be. I've been there. In my 20s and 30s, I personally struggled with everything on that list. The very good news is that I found a way out, and I now deeply enjoy helping others break free as well. So, who am I to be speaking about this? I am a life coach with the foundation of a master's in social work and 20 years of experience. I've lived in Boulder, Colorado for 29 years. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I am always looking at clients' challenges through multiple lenses, with many different tools in my toolkit. I keep an open mind and work as a team with each client to get to the crux of change. In my many years of seeking guidance from counselors, doctors, and coaches, I had a lot of wise help, but I also invested loads of time and money and earnestness in approaches and professionals who ended up not being the right fit for helping me break free from my challenges. I did have to change direction many times. So I work very hard to see clearly and use my discernment and experience to look for the most efficient and sustainable keys to each client's journey forward.
Know that substantial change can actually happen for people. With their permission, here are a few notes from past clients. I had the privilege to work with James, who had spent 7 years in a terrible work situation that had beaten down his confidence and sense of worth. He sent me this wonderful picture and said, "Since leaving my job with the narcissistic boss, the victim mentality has lost its hold on me. I am now feeling strong and my consulting work has grown so much. I'm so glad I took the leap of faith to an empowered life." And 9 months after Nicole and I worked together, she wrote, "Now that I'm not racing around trying to be everything to everyone, I'm actually more efficient at work and home, and I'm continuing to lose more and more weight. You were right. The more I feel fulfilled by my days and relationships, the less I crave extra food. That freedom tastes fabulous."
So, what if a few months from now, you end up being someone who writes a testimonial like that celebrates the successful work that we've just done? Let's talk about transforming your relationships in a way that helps you thrive. Luckily, there are so many choices we can make in our relationships that will help our weight go down, raise our mood and self-esteem, and help us have the energy to move forward, to enjoy life more. In all relationships, there are bumps in the journey, small and big rapids we have to navigate. And if anyone tells you that it's perfect, don't believe it. It's just not true. We cannot respond to these things perfectly. We all can fall into having really dramatic, unconstructive reactions. These reactions can turn a small disagreement into a painful, draining experience. So as a river flows down a mountain valley, there will be pockets of still or circling water along the edges called eddies, places where things can get stuck and stop flowing downstream. Well, I want to tell you about something I call drama eddies. We can all get stuck in these depleting places as we navigate our relationships. So here's a story. Say you see your husband Sam or your wife Sam at a party complaining to friends about something you did. He was rolling his eyes in exasperation at "my wife, the old ball and chain." You might respond in several ways. See for yourself Which of these drama eddies feel most familiar to you? First, the eddy of denial. You go into denial that your husband upset you. You don't feel anything really and aren't consciously aware of any problem. But when you wake up the next morning, your neck is tight and your back is out. You end up spending the next few weeks completely stressed and occupied with pain relief, doctor's visits, and coping. Your well-meaning subconscious has protectively tucked the disappointing piece of truth about your relationship, about how Sam treated you, away underground. Second, maybe you get trapped in the eddy of feeling like a victim. Maybe when you see Sam talking badly about you, you lock yourself in your host's bathroom and sob, feeling like an undesirable failure and trapped in the relationship. You then pull yourself together, put on a pleasant face. When you get home, you feel desperate to feel close to him again, so you initiate lovemaking. You do not share with him how his actions upset you. Late that night, you proceed to take your hurt and frustration out on yourself by eating like 4 pieces of cake and a whole carton of ice cream. You wake up the next morning feeling bloated and depressed. Or maybe you get stuck in the eddy of fuming. Maybe you simmer with resentment for days, acting icy, highly irritable, running late to meet him at an important business dinner. You're being passive aggressive, trying to get him to feel your anger. You don't directly tell him what upset you, and you complain to your friends about what an ass he is. Or fourth, maybe you get mean. Or after the party, you lose it, screaming at him and shaming him for being such a terrible husband. You end up feeling regret and shame that you treated him like that. Let's look at another option for how to respond to Sam smack-talking you in front of his friends. In this option, you're able to avoid getting stuck in dramatic reactions. You flow smoothly down the river using honest and constructive communication. You see his eye rolling and public complaining about you, and you feel anger arise inside. You're aware of it, and you think to yourself, oh, that behavior is so not okay. So you approach him. Hey, Sam, could I talk to you a second? Once you're away from the party, you say to him, what the heck? That was so not acceptable. You know I love you, but I am pissed. I don't want you to show disdain for me in public. It is disrespectful. If you have an issue with something I've done or said, bring it to me privately so that I can address and deal with it. Okay, so what went right with that response? First, you were consciously aware of Sam's behavior and the anger that arose inside you. Second, you didn't go to blame or shame. Instead, you stayed with what you truly feel and what you need, and you made a direct request. You kept it about his particular action and didn't go to drama about who he is as a husband or who you are as a partner and how your future's gonna be. You leaned into the relationship with honest sharing of your feelings rather than coldly pulling away. You channeled your anger into empowerment. You took care of yourself by setting a clear boundary and expectation of respect. You raised the bar for the relationship for both of you. Sam now understands that saying negative things about you in public is not acceptable. If he's a workable guy, you just showed him how to be the best husband he can be. So, I mentioned the importance of healthy boundaries that can help us get unstuck and move forward in our lives. Let's talk more about boundaries. We all have internal guidance systems. We can all receive guidance through gut feelings, our own wise discernment, or intuitive hits. Let's say a gal from a sorority demanded that you clean up the gross mess from their last keg party. How would you feel physically? When I imagine myself in that scenario, I get a sensation of tension below my ribs that I associate from my life with stress or something not feeling right. Maybe you feel the stress in your chest or your throat, or you might get a wave of like, hell no outrage. I've found that those bodily messages and our real sense of knowing are available to guide us on when to say no to things that don't feel right. One way to know if a boundary is needed in your life is this clue. You might experience frequent resentment or irritation around the person, or you might feel drained or depressed every time you're in their presence. So let's just get real. Talking about boundaries is much easier than actually setting them. Why don't we always follow our natural impulses to set limits? Well, we humans get afraid of conflict. If you find yourself avoiding addressing something that you know needs to be addressed, you are so not alone. So maybe you don't set a limit because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings or make them angry at you. Or maybe you don't want to lose a group's approval or seem unattractive. Or maybe afraid of possible financial consequences. When we don't honor our natural impulses to say no, it can lower our self-esteem, increase depression, anxiety, compulsive eating, or other addictive behaviors. So deciding whether it's time to set a boundary is a very personal decision. Here's a clarifying question that we can ask ourselves. Is the price of avoiding saying no actually now higher than the consequence you fear could happen if you do say no? This can be hard stuff. Most of us actually need some support from either healthy friends or family or from a professional to be able to start setting healthier boundaries. The risks, they can be scary, and the rewards can be very big. So how do you know which boundary is healthy and right for you? Here's a way to know if a boundary is substantial enough. Imagine that you actually put that limit in place. Would that future you still feel resentful toward the person or feel drained by them? When you hit a place where you no longer feel so resentful of how they treat you, that means you have a healthier boundary in place. Let's look at a few examples. Boundaries can come in many shapes and sizes. It could be that the boundary you need to put in place is pretty small. Maybe you realize you need to request that your partner's mom not drop by unannounced on weekday evenings like she does. You would like her to check in with y'all first to see if it's a good time. Or maybe it's a little larger. Maybe your mom loves you, but frequently drops these comments about your weight. They're critical. You have asked her many times to back off, but she doesn't stop. So you come to the decision that anytime she brings up your weight or appearance, you're going to end the phone conversation or leave the room. Or maybe the healthy boundary you know you need to set is really big. You've realized that the person you thought was your friend is actually narcissistic and does not have empathy, does not care about your needs, and makes you feel bad. You've made multiple attempts to address the issue with her and got only big outrage in response. You know that you actually need to stop the friendship, stop being in touch, and move on. So dealing with boundaries and feelings is not easy, but it does get easier and less scary bit by bit. Having good boundaries, being able to say no to what you don't want in your life, is only part of the story. Each time you say no, it helps make room for your yeses, the things that you yearn to experience, do, and accomplish, the things that truly work for you. We don't have time here to go into talking about yeses, but know that I think that what you feel pulled to do or experience in this short life matters, and your well-being and contentment, it affects others. I trust that pull in you and what you truly want. The Sufi poet Rumi wrote this in the 13th century. Let the beauty you love be what you do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Only you can know what you love and how you want to spend the days of your life. I love to help people get to where they feel free and able to do whatever it takes to thrive.
People really can change their lives. A year after we completed working together, Maria wrote, "Working with you led me to raise the bar for how my husband and I treat each other. We are having tons more sweet and fun times together, and I now sleep so much better. Who knew I had this much quiet power to show the people in my life how to help me thrive?" And Mike checked in about a year and a half after our last session. "The years of depression and anxiety are still gone, and I now see so clearly how I was taking crumbs in my relationships. My new partner gets how important it is for me to be clear about my needs and preferences." And Jean and I worked together after her second stress-related heart attack. She writes, "Thank God I stopped the stress of pushing myself to be perfect. My desire to keep everyone happy was taking me down. I continue to get better at not believing my self-critical thoughts. Dare I say, I think I might be developing some real self-esteem."
So the way I see it, you now have two choices. First, you can keep trying to figure out on your own how to get unstuck from old relationship patterns that are holding you back. But a friend of mine says, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll end up where you're headed. Look, I know that no one is excited about needing to work with a counselor or coach. I guess the question for you is this: how important is it for you right now to improve your relationships? And given your priorities and goals, is hiring a coach the next right step? I don't want you or anyone to suffer unnecessarily in life. Whether I'm the right fit for you or not, I hope you take some new, fresh step forward to open your life to the possibility of some real change, the possibility of actually feeling better and more free. I went through some really hard years when I was in survival mode, depressed and trying to just make it through each day. One thing that helps me make peace with that experience, I now get the meaningful opportunity, just really satisfying and enjoyable, to take what I've learned to help others avoid suffering. It makes me so happy to see clients get more clarity about what they want and to see them find more power of choice and more self-respect. I want you to take damn good care of your future self, okay? When we take thorough care of ourselves and protect ourselves, it's not selfish. It's just good and right and benefits everyone around you. It could be that continuing to neglect ourselves is actually the selfish, stubborn choice. If you aren't doing well, it negatively affects everyone who cares about you. The truth is that no one can do this for you. It is all on your shoulders to protect your future self. You can make the decision right now that this old pattern stops. You can take your power back today by choosing to once and for all break this cycle for you, for the sake of your relationships, and even for your health. When clients' relationships improve, when I'm working with them, they often find themselves losing weight or drinking less alcohol. When we feel nourished by our relationships, cravings can tend to fade off. And after building the ability to have kind, firm boundaries with other people, it can become so much easier to have limits with ourselves, whether it's around overeating, other addictive behaviors, or even with just being too sedentary. If you're ready to make this choice today and put an end to the old struggle, then it's probably time we talk. The choice is yours, and I'm ready and excited to support you. I wish you the very best.